Here.
Vice Chairman Francis Harris,
Here.
Casey Collins,
Here.
Brian Stewart,
Here.
Tim Logue,
Here.
Liz Waters,
Here.
and Greg cannot be here today, but we do have a quorum.
Thank you, Stephanie. Are there any agenda changes or additions?
I have no changes.
I think Francis and I would like to propose a possible workday at town hall or other places. So I'd like to add that.
Can we put that under staff updates?
Sure.
Okay, so we'll add that as C under number 6, possible work day. Do I hear a motion? Can we just approve the agenda as amended by consensus? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. The agenda is approved with this amendment. All right, minutes. Any questions, discussion about the minutes? Is there a motion that we approve the minutes as presented?
I move we approve the minutes as presented.
Okay, Casey makes the motion.
I second the
Second.
motion.
All right, Tim, second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
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 Aye, 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 Captain. Then minutes are approved as presented. Options for diseased boxwoods in Old Town Cemetery, Bill Harris,
I'll share this.
our guest.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me here today. I have to say I'm almost excited to be here as Casey is, because Casey was really excited about being able to see this back later.
Oh.
And I'm equally excited to be able to watch this back later on YouTube. Anyway, the status of the Old Town Cemetery Boxwoods, Stephanie asked me to talk a little bit about it because I went out and took a look and they were looking kind of distressed about a month or so ago. So what I wanted to do is go through, I've got 6 or 7 slides we'll go through pretty quickly, and I'll show you kind of what I'm seeing and then give you what I perceive to be options at the end. In terms of background, basically, when Francis and I moved here in 2016, I started working on the Boxwoods, maintaining them. I took over from Mary Leonardi, who had been doing it. And one of the first things I noted was there were a couple boxwoods that had discolored leaves and dying branches. So I asked the Orange County Extension agent, Carl Matyak, at that time, to come over and take a look at the He didn't see anything obvious by visual observation, so we did some soil samples. The lab over in Raleigh at NCSU came back and basically determined that there was a lethal concentration of nematodes in the soil there. And well, I'll show you that report in just a second, but basically what they recommended was providing an optimal course of our growth conditions, removing the infected boxwoods, and then leaving the ground fallow for 3 to 5 years. The issue was presented to the old cemetery board at that time, and they decided just basically to do that. I removed the old growth, or I removed some of the growth around the plants to clear them out. I did a lot of pruning to open them up to let sun and air through to increase the circulation, that sort of stuff. I watched them for a couple years. They were doing really pretty well for a while. They kicked back. They were getting a lot of growth inside, what you wanted to see. But then the fall of 2019, I noticed again some more problematic looks. So I asked the new county Somebody's got their sound on and I keep getting a reverberation back.
Yeah, if everyone could please mute themselves except for Francis and Bill.
So anyway, in October of 2019, I asked the new county agent, Mark Baumgartner, to come take a look. And he noticed that there were a large number of spiders, which are attracted to the large number of insects around the boxwoods. And a lot of the damage I was seeing was insect damage, but that the insects themselves were not enough to cause all of the damage that he saw. So I originally thought that maybe they had the boxwood blight. He did not think so. So we did another soil sample and we did a leaf sample as well. The lab came back and confirmed they did not have boxwood blight. However, they did have they confirmed the lethal concentration of nematodes and said that they would eventually die. Again, their course of action was to provide optimal growth conditions and to allow better airflow through pruning and that sort of stuff. I admit through most of 2020, I just took cursory looks out there. Maybe we'll walk out there once every 4 or 5 months. Because of COVID and that stuff, I was just not getting out around that much. But I noted probably about 2 weeks ago that the boxwoods were in serious distress, looked really bad. So I contacted Stephanie just to let her know what was going on. And then she asked me to put this together and show you. So the next thing I wanted to show you was the 2016 lab report here. And you can see right through here under the nematologist's comments, he talks about the spiral nematode population density is high enough to be causing high stress to the boxwoods, provide the optimal growth conditions. And it said there, though, that the plants will survive for a short period, but they will probably eventually die. And that there is no registered chemical use for the homeowner. The only way that you can address them if you want to do a chemical solution is through a commercial buy.
Bill, can you just take a second to tell folks who may be watching just what a nematode is?
That's coming.
Oh, okay, good.
I've got a
Thank
slide
you.
coming on that just to walk through. And then the 2019 report basically is the same thing. It talks again. One difference between the 2016 and 2019 report is that we sent root samples with the 2019 report. The 2016 request did not include root samples. And that's what the S and the R here is. The S is the concentration in the soil and the R is the concentration in the roots. And you can see the footnotes indicate that both of them have lethal concentrations in both the soil and the roots of the boxwoods. So to get to Stephanie's point, what is a nematode? I am going to admit I am not a nematode expert in any way, shape, or form. I will give you the layman's interpretation here. They're small microscopic organisms. It says about 3/10,000ths of an inch long. They attach themselves to the roots. They live on the sap, sucking the nutrients out of the plants that they attach to. As you can see, when they infest the plant, they drain into the nutrients, causing it to change color and eventually die. One of the things with nematodes is there's probably 1,000 or more different types of nematodes, and lots of them are necessary, good additions to the soil, and you want nematodes there to do some of the stuff they do with the soil. But then there's the bad ones, and unfortunately, the boxwoods have two of the spiral and the lesion nematodes, which are lethal to their life. Other dangerous chemicals, like I said, the recommended treatment is removal of infected plants and roots. You fill the area with new soil and allow the area to lie fallow for up to 5 years. One of the problems is the nematodes are very slow moving. They only move about 1 foot a year, except when they hitchhike on shoes, clothing, and deer hoofs. Animals, things like that will spread them throughout the yard. So what am I seeing out there? So I've got the next 5 slides are comparative slides showing from October 2016 on the top down to January 21 on the bottom. Now, I will admit that the photos on the top from October 2016 look really nice. It was a beautiful fall day, nice and sunny. In January, it was kind of sad, overcast, but you can definitely see the difference. These are relatively same pictures from same angles. You can see the walk through, the stone walk through, and you can see the stone walk down on the bottoms, and you can see how the leaves basically are just falling off the trees, and they're super distressed. This is almost an exact comparison. This end is all the way down at the end near, it's at the north side down by the Hooper grave going in. If you turn left here, you go back to Hooper's grave. You can see the little note sign there, so you know that you're looking at the same thing. And there's just no comparison between what we had 5 years, 4.5 years ago and what we have now. And then this is on the back side, closest to the grave, looking back to Tryon Street and Presbyterian Church. You can see all along the left there how green and full they were. And then on the right, you can see how they're not now anywhere close to that. Now, one of the things, and I could show you, I've got more, but I thought this was enough to give you an example of what you're looking at. You're probably saying, so why is this happening out there? Why is it happening to us at the cemetery? Well, I've got some photos here of other areas. So here on the bottom, let's start on the bottom left. You can see their Boxwoods. That's the Webb House on East Queen Street. And you can see how their Boxwoods are also suffering. Here on the top left is the Nash Hooper house on West Tryon Street, which is just on the other side of Alan Gerganis's house, just probably 100 yards away. And you can see how their Boxwoods are starting to go. And then on the top right, this is at the Presbyterian Church, which is very near the cemetery. The thing that's distressing here is that about 2 years ago, they finished that remodel or that addition in the back. And they had taken these and had done a hard prune on them and cut them way back, all the way down to the branches. And when they started coming back, they were looking really, really good. And I was thinking that maybe that's what we should have done to ours, but I didn't do that. My option was always just to go in and selectively prune. But you can see even now how theirs are just struggling. In addition to this, you probably remember 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, Pilgrim's Rest over on Queen Street lost all of their Boxwoods in the front to boxwood blight. And this morning when I was walking by there just to kind of take a look, right across the street on West Tryon Street at the Scott House, I noticed that they have 6 Boxwoods that form a walk up to their front door, and all of their Boxwoods look exactly the same. So there's something going on in the area that has been for a couple of years now, and it's taken a toll on the Boxwoods. So what are the options that I came up with? I came up with 4. The first option is you can remove the Boxwoods and leave the ground fallow for 3 to 5 years. You know, you've got 2 soil samples basically that say they're going to die because of the lethal concentrations of nematodes. They say that it'll die, they will maybe live for a short period. I don't know. How do you define a short period? I don't know what that is. You know, looking at them now, you could say that maybe that's 3 to 5 years, because we're at about a 5-year mark from when we first saw them, and now they're struggling. The second option is that you could contact J.C. Ralston Arboretum, I suppose, for a consult from their boxwood specialist. They've got some boxwoods out there that are doing pretty well, that are recognized through the American Boxwood Society and some others as being, you know, fine specimens. I don't know if they do consults. We could contact them and see, but that would be an option. I don't know what that would solve, because my guess is the first question they're going to ask is, have you done a soil sample? And when we say, yes, we have, and this is what it says, and they are probably going to have the same reaction that I'm having, that, you know, it's tough dealing with nematodes. The third option, because the only place you could get a chemical solution would be from a commercial company, you could contact them to find out what the projected cost, treatment times, environmental impacts and stuff are. The problem with most of the chemical treatments is that they're all known to be phototoxic. That is, that they cause plant damage to the plants while they're trying to solve the problem. And then the other considerations I thought here are, how would using chemicals impact your Tree City and Bee City certifications and things like that. The fourth option I came up with is just let Mother Nature decide. Just let them roll. Continue to try to provide the optimal growing conditions that we have, just clean them up a little bit every now and then let the environmental factors define what is a short period that the labs said they would survive, due to the lethal nematode concentration. The problem with number 4 is they're going to, you would basically just let it go till the spring or summer and see if they bounce back. My guess, based off of what we're seeing on other plants, what we saw at Pilgrim House, Pilgrim Rest and others, is that they're probably just going to continue to degrade. But, doing nothing is always an option. So I wanted to throw that out. And that was basically all I had for you. I just wanted to kind of lay out a little bit of the history, what we've done, and what we're seeing. Okay, are there any questions? No? Okay.
I have a question.
Okay.
Hi, Bill. Thank you very much for that. That was wonderful. And I'm sure you're going to hear from other members of the tree board, but thank you for everything you've been doing. You're a model citizen of the town for looking after these boxwoods. So thank you very much. My question was, do you have any idea? I know that this is a tough one, but do you have any idea what species or varieties of boxwoods these are? And the reason I ask is, my understanding, and take this with a grain of salt, I think this requires more research, so just put an asterisk next to what I'm about to say. My understanding is that, well, I know that the genus, the boxwood genus, it's distributed here in North America, but also in Europe, and I think does it get a little bit into Asia? Anyway, our Native American boxwood, sempervirens, I think is the species name on that, is supposedly resistant to root knot nematode and does a little bit of a better job to the other one, stunt nematodes. And that might make sense too, right? That our native species has co-evolved with these nematodes, which are roundworms that are found, naturally in the soil, whereas these exotic boxwoods maybe don't fare so well. And I have to wonder if maybe over time, way back when, 100, 200 years ago, people were planting American boxwoods, but as they've just randomly declined or have been replaced, they get replaced with the cultivar, or the exotics that come from nurseries.
Yeah.
So I guess my comment is only, I did like option number 2, the Arboretum consultant, only because it would be wonderful to know what species or varieties or origin, to whatever degree that can be determined. I don't know if there are lots of crosses, and maybe that's impossible, but it would be nice to have an expert determine, are these our native boxwoods, or are these something from Eastern Europe? And if so, would a recommendation be to replace them with our Native American boxwood, which is consistent, I think, with sort of the values of the tree board anyway, in the hopes that they would fare better in the future? So that's my comment. Thank you.
And I don't know what variety they are. But that's a great point. I just don't know. I understand that these were planted probably in the early 60s, maybe, because I've seen some photos of them in the mid 60s, and they were tiny, like 2 feet off the ground, and maybe 1.5 feet. And boxwoods are notoriously slow growers. So I think that they were planted probably in the early 60s. But other than that, that's basically all I know.
Thank you, Bill.
Bill, can you stop screen sharing so that we can see everyone, and then maybe just kind of open it up for people's.
I was going to say, I can't, but Francis can.
Okay. I know that this is You know, this is so disappointing. First of all, of course, we all owe Bill so much thanks for how much energy and work he has put into this. And he's been incredible at communicating with me over the years about different ideas and options and trying to do his best to, you know, save these beautiful shrubs. I mean, they're such an important part of the cemetery. It's hard, I know, probably to process the information of what we're telling you, which is that they are dying. And so the important thing for us to talk about today is just to get your general impressions on sort of those list of options and how you want us to follow up, knowing now what you know. So I think we should just kind of open it up for discussion and any additional questions.
One of my thoughts was, you know, it says to let the ground lie fallow for 3 to 5 years after you take them out because of those nematodes. They live in the ground for a while. And I know at Pilgrim's Rest, they replanted with, I think it's, I'm not even quite sure, maybe a type of yew or something. And you know, I was kind of surprised if that was a case, because I know they did a lot of testing too. So I don't know if it's live fallow if you want to replant boxwoods or live fallow to replant anything. I think that's one of the things we need to look into. Definitely keeping them there. I mean, it's not attractive by any means, and they're not going to live. So whether we find out what type they are and what we can replant with, I think they need to be, you know, removed. Just and to protect whatever other boxwoods in the area may be if it's being tracked through. But that, you know.
I thought that all those boxwoods that died on Queen Street had blight. They died from blight.
They did. And that's the difference. The ones at Pilgrim Rest did have the blight.
Okay.
And the ones in the cemetery are affected. The nematodes are, and I don't know if there's anything else working on them, but I know that the test that we did in October 2019 said that they did not have blight. It was the only thing that they noted was the lethal concentration of nematodes.
I was questioning. I know boxwoods are very slow growing and live a long time, so I'm surprised that they are not older than that. I just would have somehow thought that maybe they would have been planted well before that time. But I kind of I like Brian's idea of finding out what kind of boxwood we have for moving forward. And I guess this would have to go through the cemetery committee. Is that correct? Not. Okay.
Well, the
All right.
Cemetery committee doesn't meet anymore. It's not a standing committee. So this falls wholly within the tree board and also, of course, the Historic District Commission. If the tree board determines, sorry, there's feedback from somewhere, but if the tree board determines that they need to be removed, then we would need to also work through the Historic District Commission.
Okay. So if we know what we're dealing with, we know what to replace, correct? If it's a native or exotic. So I want, is there a cost, I guess, to the arborist coming out? And that would be something the tree board would absorb, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, I can call over to the Arboretum and find out. I don't even know if they do that, but I kind of assumed that they would, given that it's, you know, it's NC State's, you know, Arboretum. It's a public university Arboretum. So I kind of assumed that they might, but I honestly have not checked into it. It was just, as I was kind of brainstorming my thoughts the last 3 or 4 days on what to give you as options, that was one I came up with, but I haven't looked into it at all.
Well, I used the Arboretum at one time when we were setting up a nature trail at Cameron Park, and there was no charge. So maybe it would be the same. So, and Bill, thank you. That was a wonderful, very thorough presentation. Well done.
Any other discussion? Any comments?
I would just say, from synthesizing what I feel like I'm hearing from you guys is Bill and I can maybe continue to try to get a little bit more information about the species and talk to a boxwood expert if there's one out there that we can find. And maybe just add this to the next tree board meeting to come back around, or just whenever we have more information shared. Let things kind of sit and be until then, until we gather more information. Does that sound right?
Yeah,
Bill?
and I'll add, I'm sorry, this is Brian Stewart. I'll add the corollary to that. If an expert is able to be located at the Ralston Arboretum or elsewhere, in addition to determining what species we have, to fact check the suggestion that I made that the American boxwood is putatively more resistant than these exotics. Because if it's not, then this is all moot.
Mhm. Yeah, very helpful. Bill, are you willing to continue to help me out and help coordinate this?
Okay, I'm going to be a little flippant here, Stephanie, because of something that you said before. So Francis, am I willing to help with you?
Yeah, Francis, can we have Bill? Thank you.
Do you want me to call over to try to call the Arboretum and find out?
Sure, and if they come out on site, we can, maybe mask up and meet over there, stand far apart, or if they need additional pictures, I can get those. We can continue to coordinate, and then we'll just come back to tree board when we have more information.
Okay, I'll contact the Arboretum then and see what I can find out.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And if the Arboretum can't help, I'm pretty sure there's a horticulture expert at NC State.
Oh, yes. Well, and I've been using so far, Andrea, the extension agents. And
Right.
Carl, when he was there, was particularly helpful because he was a pathologist. And when he looked at him, his first thing was, I don't see anything, he didn't see any leaf miners or any problems with insects or whatever. So he just immediately said to me, he goes, "You've got a nematode problem." He goes, "Guarantee it." He goes, "But let's do the soil sample." And we did it, and it came back, as I showed you. So I'll try to track down another angle there. And maybe Mark will know somebody also that can help as well, but I'll talk with him. Okay.
Well, thank you, Bill and Stephanie, for looking into this. All right, number 5, video update. Francis and Tim. Well, let me go back to Brian and Casey.
So this is somewhat embarrassing. I mean, Bill has shown himself as a member of, as a private citizen to be more on top of our tree board activities than a member like myself seems to be. So I think there might have been a communication breakdown. I was thinking, okay, short of the long is, I don't believe we've done anything towards this. And I thought that my role in this was to make a 20-second statement about as managed natural landscapes relate to snakes. I see I'm put here as the lead person on the M&L ordinance videos. Did I misunderstand something?
No, I should have probably clarified this in the agenda. I think last month or November, Francis reported, just reminded everyone that the Master Gardeners program was working on a series of videos, and one of the video topics that their groups did had to do with the managed natural landscape. And I've actually had the pleasure of seeing those videos, and they're unbelievably amazing. And I'm still waiting to get a copy of those final videos so that I can share them with you guys. And so I think we put this topic on hold in November until we saw how much overlap there was going to be. The only reason it's included in the agenda is it's still out there as an idea that we do something with it, but I don't think anyone was expecting you guys to follow up until we figured out what was happening with those others. So
let me change what I said. I've actually been working really hard on this, but I decided not to share it with you all, waiting to see those other videos. So I can't divulge any of the hard work that I've been putting into this, given the current. No, I'm joking. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the reminder on that, Stephanie. I feel relieved when I saw the agenda. I thought, oh my gosh, because I've been totally delinquent in my responsibilities. So thank
I'm
you.
sorry. I'm hoping to get those videos to share with you guys really soon. They're just unbelievable, and we will have to figure out a way to get those out to the public because they're incredibly informative.
So I will plan to not do anything further until I receive instruction from Andrea or Andrea or Stephanie or somewhere. And I assume, Casey, you're in the same boat?
Yeah, I did remember that we had talked about the Master Gardeners having some videos, so I feel like I maybe relied on that.
Yes. Sorry for the confusing agenda item. I didn't want to completely erase it because I just wanted to revisit the fact that we're still waiting, and we'll somehow figure out a way to help promote those videos, or even take some of the information in those longer videos and do something shorter with them. But
I also think it's a really nice idea to have things ready for spring, because everyone's still at home and everyone's very interested in their gardens right now.
Yeah.
So Stephanie, do you want me to contact Mart and have them sent to you, or would you just do that directly?
Yeah, I mean, he told me that they had just some finishing touches back right around Christmas, and I just haven't pestered him about it yet, but I was going to send him an email, and I'm sure they're much too large to email, so we'll have to set up a sharing site to get those. And then I was going to bring our public information team in on figuring out the best way to promote those videos, posting them on the town website, but then doing some social media buzz around them to kind of drive people to those links to watch them. So I can send them an email. If you run into them, you can ask as well and let me know what you hear.
Okay.
And they have 3 videos. Just so you guys know, there's 3 videos, separate topics. And the managed natural landscapes is one. Edible landscapes is one. What else? Native plants was one.
Rain gardens.
Oh, and rain gardens. Oh God, they're great videos. So we'll get on it before spring. We need to get those linked on our website. However, they did not do one on ivy and invasive vines. So
Yay. Well, I shared the latest version with you. I don't know how many of you have had a chance to look at it. Oh, and by the way, the reason I'm wearing a baseball cap is, one, to show off my gift from my great nieces. It says plant trees, but also I'm hiding some skin treatment for skin cancer. So, but just wondered if you had any suggestions. Ryan, the digital media person at the library who filmed it, has been a real good sport about making changes. He asked me if I wanted music. I don't think we do, but if others do, we can explore that. And then the latest version has this kind of triptych. I don't know what it's called. He gave me some term for the still photos. There's like the middle section, I guess, where the ivy is highlighted, and the side panels are dimmer. I don't know what you thought of that, but anyway, Francis and I had fun doing it, and welcome.
Tim, actually, he did the storyboard and everything. It made it easy, and doing the voiceovers was nice because you didn't have to memorize everything right in front of the camera. That was a good move. The triptych thing, at first I thought that my screen wasn't wide enough to take it all in, so I'm not sure. I guess it is an artistic endeavor. I'm not sure it's as effective as.
I did personally. I didn't like it. I've showed it to a couple of people, and they said, "Oh, yeah, that's real common." I don't have strong feelings about it, but he can easily change it back.
Yeah, so that's just my thought on that. I mean, once I realized that, oh, that's everything. It's always there. Then I realized it wasn't me. It was the film. So.
Well, I was extremely impressed. And again, I'm going to add to Brian my apology. I was supposed to be the third person, and I had conflicts when Tim and Francis didn't, so I had to bow out, but I thought it was well done. And so that's my impression. I think it was informative. It was brief. I like the way you flipped the screwdriver, Tim. That was quite.
That was Ryan's idea. It seems
Yeah.
the Clint
I guess
Eastwood
if
moment.
you dropped it, if you dropped it, they would edit that out,
Hey,
right?
that took like 10 takes. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just, the tree board goes back, and Andrea, remember when we hired the goats to come to the town hall trying to remove the ivy, but this method is much more effective. And one thing that I really liked was your reference to trees and the importance of, their place in global warming, and that we want to save the trees that are already in place. Even though we're planting trees, they have a lot more significance because of their age and maturity. So I thought that was a good point. I'm glad you added that in. It goes along with the town's, plan to plant trees and global warming initiative. So I think it was wonderful. So thanks.
Well, thank you. I don't know if everyone would characterize it as short. Stephanie gave us a 2-minute limit, and we tried to squeeze it down, but I think it's right over 3.5 minutes. Right?
Just to be clear, I've never made the 2-minute window either. That's what the PIO always tells me. And I talk too much for 2 minutes. I can't do anything in 2 minutes. I think it's fantastic. I think that we can get it out as soon as you guys are ready. I think it can be up to you as to whether or not you want any final editing.
Did anyone else have opinions about and again, you may, if you haven't had a chance to see it, maybe you could take a look after the meeting and email me. But I'm particularly interested in people's impression of that 3-panel appearance of the still photographs, because I think that's the one thing that I was in. Francis and I are both a little ambivalent about. So yeah.
I think y'all did a great job. It looked really good.
Well,
I saw it last night.
Ryan gets all the credit, and I bought him 1 case of beer, and we'll buy another one. But if there's any way to give him any acknowledgement when it gets pushed out, I think it'd be a nice gesture, because he's a real professional.
Does anyone have any strong opinions on the?
You're frozen, Stephanie. Oh, now.
Is it coming back now?
Yeah, you're back.
Yep.
Okay, sorry about that. I have a new router today, so I'm unstable, apparently. Does anyone have any final or feel very strong talking about? I want to like those things, but I don't know if I'm just old school or.
What Stephanie, I'm sorry, what did you say that you tend to?
I tend to not prefer those triple screens. Yeah. But that's a personal preference.
Well, same here.
And this will be put on the town website, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And we push it out through social media and drive people to the website for it. Yes.
I was wondering, the News of Orange may have a limited audience. At least they are, available online, digital. I didn't know whether we might want to consider putting something in the News of Orange about it. I don't know if that would be important enough or used enough to consider, but it might direct people. Mm-hmm. It's just another venue.
A couple of thoughts. One is, I didn't know this until a colleague at the library told me about it. Apparently there's a National Invasive Species Week coming up in February. I forget, I think it's like the 3rd week. So that might be an opportunity to tie it into something. And I had thought about, maybe submitting some kind of something to the Orange County News explaining, saying a little bit about ivy, pointing people to the video, and possibly recruiting volunteers, because when Francis and I were at town hall, we were sort of overwhelmed by the number of trees just encased in ivy. And I started working on one on the slave cemetery this weekend, and it's definitely a more than one person job with some of the thicker vines. So just a thought.
Yeah, one thought was to maybe have a couple work days and people would take one tree, kind of adopt it, clean it out, that one time. So it's not as overwhelming trying to do it all at once, but kind of adopt one tree, do your best and get all the ivy off of it. And then next time move to another one.
I would be willing to help as a follow through with our goats. And I think this is a much more effective approach.
I suppose one question I have for the group is, just, walking around town, driving around town, I've spotted so many targets. And although the number of trees with serious cases of ivy is very high at town hall, it's not a very, it's not a very prominent place where people see. There's, so like I almost envision the work as a kind of publicity, like this is what you do with ivy. And so I just wonder, there are a few trees on the Riverwalk that have some significant vines, and then there are some at the town cemetery, there's some at the slave cemetery, and just wondering what the rest of you think about the value of working first on trees that are going to see more foot traffic nearby, and as a result might prompt pedestrians to say, what are you doing and why are you doing it?
And that also might be a way, like if we contacted the News of Orange, they could come out and take some pictures of us at work. I don't know. That's another possible approach. But
Yeah.
I like that week in February that you mentioned too. So maybe we could do both.
And I looked it up. It starts the last Monday in February. So that's a little bit of time to plan since it's the last week in February.
Well, maybe Liz, Francis, and I can put our heads together and come up with a proposal for, a publicity stunt to connect it with this Invasive Species Week, and organizing a work day. Francis and I were, when we first talked about it, I think Francis was just saying a tree board volunteer.
Oh no, I'm
day.
thinking
Well, you were thinking inviting other people too? Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
I really
So-
like the idea of adopting a tree, like even if it's like in your yard or your neighborhood or something, like, because it is so prolific, and like once people start to really see it, then I feel like, and it's very easy to do, like, like pulling it off actually can be kind of fun sometimes. So like,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
drawing people's attention to how close it is to their own homes and how easy it is to kind of like do something about it, I think it's a nice idea.
And doing it now when everything else is dead, you know which one is the ivy, and there's no poison ivy because it's not active now. And that's helpful because sometimes they are intertwined.
Yeah.
Personal experience.
Snakes are hibernating.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And
the sooner the better in the winter, I think.
And I will say that we're starting, work days are just really hard right now because of course we all miss each other and we want to be together, and it sounds like such a great idea, but nobody really wants to be near each other right now either. So, and for good reason. So it may be better like what Casey's talking about, where we put the video out, get some attention in the News of Orange, teach people how to do it, and then ask people to either follow up individually to adopt a tree on public lands where we could sort of assign a tree to a person, or they do it on their own private property and maybe share a little video or a picture of
like take a picture.
them doing
That's all
it.
you need to do, and then send it in.
Yeah, but I think in those circumstances we would need to provide some just really clear instructions about how to be safe. But I think we should probably not plan on a work day, because even though it sounds like a good idea, I think we would have a really hard time getting people there. And then if we do get people there, it's kind of hard to monitor safety from a COVID perspective. So we have struggled with this a little bit. We're going to start a litter removal on roadsides, and it's just a lot safer right now for people to work in small family groups than to try to bring people together. So why don't you, Tim, just like you said, you and Liz and Francis maybe talk a little bit more. If you want to reach out to the News of Orange and just ask them if they'd be interested in doing a story about it, let them know that we have a video we'll be putting out at the end of February. Ask them if they'd like to, run a story at the same time. We can certainly write a press release if that's helpful. And then we would normally write a press release to go along with the release of our video anyway, and then send that out on social media. So
so the
let's plan
date of that, is that the 21st through the 27th? Is it a Sunday through Saturday or Monday? I'm just curious.
Says it starts the last Monday in February, so that would be the 22nd.
Okay.
And I just got that off Google. So hopefully that's right.
Okay.
Great. And then I don't know if you guys have an update on the leaves at all, or
no, I started to take some pictures, but at least time got away, frankly. And then it seems kind of obese since the leaf season is just about over. So put it on the agenda for next fall and concentrate on the ivy.
Yeah. One thing you may do is, if there's anything now to show, like if anyone has leaf piles or in their mulch, like a couple pictures of turning the leaves over and what they turn into over a season, so that we can add that to the video later. Just get some of that spring footage and save it for then the fall, because then we can show people the process. I have a bunch of leaves piled up in my yard that we can use if you don't have any.
Well, I have a neighbor up the street who does it, and that's beautiful. Yeah. Okay.
Well, let's just make that sort of timed as a fall video release. But any pictures you need now, I would say go ahead and grab them and just save them.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion about the videos? All right, we'll move on to item number 6 on the agenda. Garden Club. All I have to add is that the pollinator bee committee subcommittee will be meeting Friday via Zoom to make further plans, and I'm pretty sure it'll be about the pollinator week coming up in June or whenever we decide. So that's all. Articles have continued to appear in the News of Orange, and since I now live in Mebane, I look at the Mebane Enterprise, and they also run them in the Mebane Enterprise as well. So that's the Garden Club update. Francis, you have anything else?
No, I don't.
A lot of things are on hold. All right, staff update, Stephanie.
So yeah, we're still working on that ash tree at Town Hall. That has been the most time spent ever on a tree removal. I but anyway, it's almost done. And, you know, there have been a couple of very small removals in the last couple months of trees that were dead or dying. Nothing significant beyond the ash tree. I also had a meeting with Duke Energy yesterday about their vegetation management program. They have some new staff members, and Chapel Hill, Carborough, Hillsborough, and Orange County staff met with the Duke Energy staff to talk about how they handle transmission and distribution line vegetation management in terms of trees and limbs and pruning, but also in terms of herbicide. So I got some information on their no spray zones and what that means, and I'm going to continue to kind of follow up, and I'll share that information with the tree board. They are making some changes to their plans. They do have some no spray areas in Orange County. They're mostly on private property, not public property, but I did specifically ask about the lines on Riverwalk and whether that might be a good spot to try no spray. Similar to the ivy, when Duke maintains that corridor along Riverwalk, it's sort of a topical for certain species. They, you know, it's not a large spray field or anything, but at the same time, it might be a good spot to highlight a more environmentally friendly practice, being as close as it is to the river and our greenway. So I'm going to continue to sort of talk to Duke staff about that. We do not have any distribution lines or transmission lines that are scheduled for clearing this year in you know, the coming year, calendar year from Duke. And when we are scheduled for that, they send us maps ahead of time. They also put door hangers out and notify customers about trees that are going to be pruned. And so whenever that does come up, I share those with the tree board, but we're not scheduled this year. It's mostly happening in Chapel Hill and Carborough. That's scheduled maintenance, not, I mean, obviously there's some emergency maintenance. I also asked them to help me find a better way to communicate with Spectrum. Phone and cable lines are different than power lines, and it can be hard sometimes to figure out who to talk to when there are dangerous situations of trees laying on phone and cable lines. And so we're going to work on improving connections and maybe schedule a Zoom meeting with those other providers so that we can understand who to get in touch with when we see issues over public sidewalks and also when homeowners call us, because right now it's sort of a vacuum of we're not sure how to follow up on some of these safety issues. Public works staff is not allowed to remove trees that are entangled in live lines. So the budget process is running later this year than it has in other years. The town manager is going to sort of, and budget staff are going to lay out the budget process for us next week at the town board workshop. So usually we start in November and December, and by this time we're kind of finished up. But this year we've delayed it so that we can get as close to finding out what the impacts from COVID are on revenues. And I will update you guys on what our budget process is going to look like. I still anticipate, requesting the normal funds we get for tree plantings and removals. I don't know that there will be any additional funds for our reforestation project. But that one continues to sort of just be on hold until funds are available. I also keep my eyes out for grant opportunities for that project. And I have a lot of hope that there will be federal and state stimulus and infrastructure money at some point that may, or even water quality and soil quality funds that may fit well with that project. So if you guys hear of anything, let me know. In the meantime, we're probably looking at a budget year where we still hold pretty tight to the necessities and are just really careful until we can see what the impacts have been. I think that's all I have for updates. The videos that by the Master Gardeners were the only other thing that I just wanted to mention, and I'm going to get those out to you guys as soon as I have a link to them so you can watch them. Does anyone have any questions for me about anything or noticed anything?
Anything else we need to discuss? Then I declare the meeting adjourned. See y'all next time.
Hey.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.